Asia is composed of 48 countries and 3 independencies. According to the National Geographic Society, Asia is the world's biggest continent in terms of both geographical area and population. It is surrounded to the north by the Arctic Ocean, to the east by the Pacific Ocean, to the south by the Indian Ocean, to the southwest by the Red Sea, and the west by Europe. Asia features the highest and lowest areas on Earth's surface, as well as the world's greatest range of climate extremes and the most diverse varieties of flora and animal life. As a result, the various areas of Asia have experienced a wide range of natural and man-made disasters. Natural disasters are severe weather phenomena that have harmful and expensive consequences for the people, environment, and structural property of an affected area. Earthquakes, tsunamis, tropical storms, and landslides are all common natural disasters, with floods being the most prevalent in Asia. Moreover, man-made disasters are occurrences that are either purposefully or unintentionally and can directly or indirectly pose serious hazards to public health. Their occurrence is unpredictable, making them exceptionally difficult threat that must be handled with vigilance, effective preparation, and response. Terrorism and industrial dangers are examples of man-made calamities. These events may be both fatal and financially damaging to a town, destroying costly infrastructure, houses, and land. Without further delay, let us now move on to the discussion of cases and implications of natural and man-made disasters.
First, I am going to discuss some examples of natural disasters that happened in Asia. Earthquakes. But before anything else, what is an earthquake? An earthquake is a sudden shaking of the ground or the result of the sudden movement along faults within the earth. Did you know that Asia is home to some of the world's most frequent and powerful earthquakes due to its location at the intersection of the Pacific, Eurasian, and Indian plates? An example of this is the Great Kanto earthquake, which happened on the main Japanese island of Honshu on Saturday, September 1, year 1923. Here is a short clip of the earthquake.
For a third time. 130 of the wooden houses of the lower city were ablaze in less than half an hour, mainly due to the lunchtime cooking fires.
The Great Kanto earthquake is one of the biggest earthquakes that happened in Japan. At a massive 7.9 magnitude, the earthquake claimed an estimated 140,000 lives and destroyed more than half of the buildings in the region. The island of Honshu recovered with the help of the government. They mobilized 52,000 troops that arrived in eastern Japan to restore order, assist the relief and recovery efforts, and repair damaged infrastructure. Also, the Japanese government designated the date September 1 as the Disaster Preparedness Day, a remembrance to prepare for major natural disasters. Drills and knowledge about prevention are centered around that date.
Another example of this is on 28th of September 2018, a shallow, large earthquake struck in the neck of the Minahasa Peninsula, Indonesia, with its epicenter located in the mountainous Donggala Regency, central Sulawesi. The magnitude 7.5 quake was located 70 kilometers or 43 miles away from the provincial capital Palu and was felt as far away as Samarinda on East Kalimantan and also in Tawau, Malaysia. Following the main shock, a tsunami alert was issued for the nearby Makassar Strait. The Indonesian Agency for Meteorology, Climatology, and Geophysics, or BMKG, confirmed that a tsunami had been triggered, with its height reaching an estimated maximum of 4 to 7 meters or 13 to 23 feet, striking the settlements of Palu, Donggala, and Mamuju along its path. For for those who didn't know, a tsunami is a powerful and disruptive natural disaster that is usually caused by an earthquake, volcanic eruption, or landslide occurring underwater. It is characterized by a series of large ocean waves that can travel great distances, sometimes reaching heights of up to several meters when they hit land. Tsunamis can cause significant damage to coastal areas, including flood, destruction of buildings and infrastructure, and loss of life. After the earthquake and tsunami in Sulawesi, local and international aid agencies provided emergency relief to affected communities, and the Indonesian government launched a large-scale reconstruction effort. Despite the widespread destruction, the people of Sulawesi demonstrated resilience and worked together to rebuild their communities. The government also implemented measures to improve disaster preparedness, including early warning systems and disaster drills.
Inilah tsunami. Inilah tsunami. Inilah tsunami, ya Allah. Ya Allah, tsunami, ya Allah. Ya Allah,
November 8, 2013, Typhoon Haiyan, also known as Yolanda, in the Philippines, made landfall. It was reportedly the deadliest natural calamity to ever hit the nation. Almost 14 million people, including 5.9 million employees, were impacted by the storm, and more than 8,000 people lost their lives. Economic losses were particularly severe on Cebu, Coron, Leyte, Samar, and Panay Islands. The Philippines is the third most disaster-prone country in the world, with an average of 20 typhoons each year. Storms have been increasing more violent and fatal in recent years. After the incident that happened when Typhoon Yolanda hit the Philippines on November 2013, the ILO and its partner organization in the Philippines have provided direct assistance to more than 15,000 people. This translates to around 6,000 family members and community members who indirectly benefited from the ILO Haiyan project.
In the air, the stench of death. We saw dozens of bodies rotting by the roadside, 3 days after the typhoon struck, and nobody to bury them. Among the debris at the city's airport, a makeshift hospital. Many of the patients.
The Bhopal gas tragedy is the most tragic industrial disaster happened in history. But before that, let's define what is industrial disaster. Industrial disaster is a disaster caused by industrial companies either by accident or negligence that cause large amount of damage to people. In this case, 45 tons of the gas of methyl isocyanate or MIC that is used as a pesticides, it escaped the plant and killed thousands of people. Imagine, you are peacefully sleeping at night, then this gas will take over your town and do not know what to do? Who can survive in the tragic event? Of course, some victims survive, but it caused a long-time respiratory illness. It is caused in the mistake of operators and also a lack of safety procedures of workers and citizens. Eventually, the company accepted moral responsibility by the help of Indian government and starts to clean the understaffed plant. Until now, there are protests about this disaster because there's a lot of toxic waste and the soil in that place is contaminated. There's a lot of ways to recover from that incident like cleaning, immediate medical recovery, migration, etc. If they do this recovery plan and know how to deal if a toxic gas spread all over the place, there's a chance that it will lessen the long-time effects to the people living in Bhopal, India.
There Terrorism involves the use or threat of violence that includes assassinations, kidnappings, hijackings, bomb scares, bombings, nuclear wars, etc. On Asia, the bombing of Japan explosion immediately killed an estimated 80,000 people. Tens of thousands later would die of radiation exposure. 3 days later, a second B-29 dropped another A-bomb on Nagasaki, killing an estimated 40,000 people. Japan's Emperor Hirohito announced his country's unconditional surrender in World War II in a radio address on August 15, citing the devastating power of a new and most cruel bomb. According to Britannica, the reason was Japan's unwillingness to surrender unconditionally. Japan wanted to keep their emperor and conduct their own war trials and did not want to be occupied by the US forces. However, the United States wanted unconditional surrender, which thus meant the continuation of the war. How did Japan recover? Though Japan was left with almost nothing, their economy recovered at an incredible speed. Known as the Japanese economic miracle, Japan experienced rapid and sustainable economic growth from 1945 to 1991, the period between post-World War II and the end of the Cold War.
Quantities of energy.
As explained by Cambridge.org, a disaster becomes a humanitarian emergency when the affected population needs international humanitarian assistance to meet its basic needs. An example of this is what's happening to Yemen, which is considered to be one of the world's largest humanitarian crises. According to the United Nations Population Fund, a staggering 21.6 million people require some form of humanitarian assistance in 2023, since 80% of the country's population have struggles in access to food, safe water, and adequate health services. This is due to numerous emergencies that affected the country, including war, poverty, famine, natural disasters, the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the frequent outbreak of communicable diseases.
Unfortunately, Yemen hasn't yet recovered until today. With its myriad nationwide issues, this country undeniably calls for the world's help. Concerning this, different international organizations like United Nations, World Health Organization, World Bank, International Rescue Committee, and CARE International provide their assistance and aid through medical services, emergency life-saving packages, financial support, and protection.
Coalition led by Saudi Arabia and the UAE, a majority of Yemen's population are now facing starvation and disease. As many as 20 million people face famine, and thousands have been killed, many by indiscriminate coalition airstrikes. This has long been considered the world's worst humanitarian crisis.
معانا قال يحتاجوا ثياب، يحتاجوا قنابل، يحتاجوا كرم، يحتاجوا كل حاجة.